I want to show you a little technique I use when I'm running effects in my mix. And this is something that is going to give you so much more control over your effects and just give you so many more possibilities with your mix in general. This is something you can do in any DAW. It's very basic, but a lot of people seem to miss it. And you can apply this to other areas. It's not just strictly effects. There's a lot you can do with this. So pay attention. What I see a lot of people doing when they first start mixing is they'll go to add reverb to a track or delay or something like this, and they will insert it directly on that track. And I'm going to show you this in Cubase, but it applies to any DAW. So I've got this vocal track here. And I want to add some delay to this. So what I see people doing is they jump into that track, and here in our insert section, like this is where I'll put, EQ, compression, whatever. I see people putting reverb right here, and then they control how much reverb is being sent to this track with this mix knob. And that's like, okay, you can use that in certain situations. But what I want to show you is that there is so much more potential if you create an auxiliary track, meaning you're creating a separate track that has no like recorded audio coming from it. I'll show you in Cubase here. What I do is I create that. It's called an effects track here. So at first I'm just going to add delay. I'm going to name it delay. I'm going to find a delay patch, and I'll just use this mono delay here. Perfect. Now I'm going to set some parameters. I know this delay really well, and I know what I'm going for with my vocal track here. So I think 1/4 is going to work fine for me, a 1/4 delay, not too much feedback. And we also have this mix knob here. So when setting up a send effect, all I want to hear from this effect is the actual delay itself. And so right now it's at 50%, and that means I'm going to send my vocal to the effect, and I'm going to hear 50% of the effect, and I'm going to hear 50% of the raw signal coming in. So like the raw vocal. That's not what I'm trying to achieve here. I just want to hear the delay. So let's crank that up to 100 and let's roll with that. Now I can go into my vocal track up here, and instead of using this insert section, I'm going to pop over here to send, and I'm going to send this to my delay. So now we can see under the send section, our vocal track is being sent to the delay auxiliary track, the effects track. And we've got this little volume slider here. And what this is it tells us how much of our vocal is going to be sent to that effects track. When I start, I usually like that rate at 0, meaning it's going to send 100% of that vocal track to the effect, to our delay. And so I'll leave it there for now, and I can tweak this later if I need, but I like to start right at 0. So let's listen to what that's done. Okay, it's a little intense. We've got delay happening all over the place. So what I'm trying to achieve here is when the vocal stops and the singer is no longer singing, that's when I want to hear the delay. I want to fill that gap. And how I'm going to do that is by using automation. So what we're doing is automating the vocal track. We're going to automate how much of the vocal signal is being sent to the delay channel. And here we go. This is the send 1 and the level of that send. So this right here is the same as this right here. So we'll start with this send totally off. No vocals being sent to that delay channel. And we're just going to pick the words that we want to delay, and we're going to turn up the volume of that delay send when we want to hear the delay. So let's listen. Letting you go. So that big first gap there, I want to fill up with the word go, and I can just see by the transients here that it's going to start right at the beginning of that bar. Another helpful tool when doing this is using snap, is what it's called in Cubase. And that just means if I'm trying to pick the very first beat of that bar, I don't have to guess, I don't have to zoom in and do anything weird. I can just click the snap, and it's going to know exactly where to put that little dot of automation. Cool, so I've got my snap on, and let's crank this up to 0-ish, Doesn't need to be perfect. We're just gonna experiment here. Negative 0.53, whatever. That's perfect. So when it gets to this point, the delay is going to turn on, but then I want it to turn off. I don't want to delay any of, I mean, there's nothing happening there, but even if there was, I don't want to delay anything else. So let's just, right there. Now I've got that entire word, and let's hear what that sounds like.
Letting you go, I'm letting you know
Okay, so we've captured the word perfectly. It's just a bit loud, so I'm going to turn this down right from here.
letting you go.
Okay, that sounds good for now. So let's continue picking words through this vocal passage here, and let's just highlight them. And to make this a bit easier, I'm going to highlight this automation here, and I'm going to copy it so that I can just paste it wherever I need to. This is going to keep things sounding consistent because we're going to be at the same level. I don't have to do any funny business like trying to match that, you know. So let's find our next word to delay.
I'm letting you know
I'm right there.
I'm letting you go.
And go.
I'm letting you know
I'm again.
I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know
Perfect. Now here's the beauty of using a send opposed to inserting your effects directly on the track. I can manipulate this any way I want. For instance, let's listen.
I'm letting you know I'm letting
I think it's sounding a little too present, and I want to add some reverb to it. If I was doing this as an insert and I had my delay loaded up here along with all my other effects like EQ and compression, and then I wanted to add some reverb just to the delay channel, I couldn't because it would be affecting the entire track. So I've got this send here, and I'm going to come over here, and in this scenario, it's totally fine for me to just slap that reverb right on that effects track. And let's hear what that sounds like.
I'm letting you go.
Okay, that's a little intense. Let's back off that reverb a bit. Maybe try here.
I'm letting you know I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know
And it's still sounding a bit bright. I don't want it to be as bright as the main vocal line. I don't want it to take anything away. So I'm going to just use this high shelf, turn it down a bit.
I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know I'm letting you go. I'm letting you.
And in fact, the whole thing is sounding kind of loud to me. So I'll just grab my fader here on my delay effects channel and turn that down a bit.
You know I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know I'm letting you go. I'm letting you know
So try this with like a delay, a reverb. You can even try setting your tracks to, I don't know, like a saturation or a distortion plugin to make them sound a little grittier, maybe a bit more present. And you won't be applying the distortion or saturation directly to that track. So you won't be destroying those lovely transients that you have so carefully crafted. You're just going to be adding to them. And so there's endless possibilities here of things that you can do by using an effects send rather than an insert. And I've actually got one more here that's like, just for example, one really badass technique you can use. Let's scrap this reverb for now, and let's just focus on this delay. And say we don't want to hear that delay, I don't know, when the snare's hitting, when the snare drum hits. So I'm going to show you this in Cubase, obviously, but remember you can do this in any DAW. So I'm going to go to my delay channel here, and I'm going to add a compressor. I'm going to turn on the sidechain function. I'm going to put that release weight down, crank this up so we can really hear what's going on. Just arbitrary starting point. And then I'm going to dig into my track, and I'm going to the percussion. Let's go into that main snare channel. And holy shit. Okay, we've got a lot of sidechaining happening here already. You can see I like to use this trick a lot, maybe overuse. Anyways, I've got a space here. So we're going to send sidechain to that delay. And I'm going to put that at 0. Now when that snare hits, that delay is going to shut up. I think this is going to be easier for you to hear if the track we're affecting is a reverb. The delay is just a bit choppy, so let's try this. Let's put a plate on here. 2-second plate, beauty. This is going to sound terrible, but you're going to get the point.
Letting you go.
You hear that, how it just cuts out completely? Again, this sounds terrible, but I just wanted to show you as an example. And you can use that all over your mix and make it sound really tight. And you can get that snare right up front. And if you're going to sidechain, I would suggest starting bare minimum, using as little of that sidechain compression as possible, because you don't want to destroy your mix. You just want to use it subtly. But then again, on the flip side, of course, you can use it at 100% and you can crush sounds, and sometimes it sounds really good. So again, just experiment with it. So I hope you've gathered from this video why it is beneficial to use some effects as sends and why it's okay to use others just as inserts directly on your tracks. And I'd love to hear if you guys are having success with this, or if you've ever tried it before, or maybe it's like totally brand new to you. Anyways,